those nachos, and welcome to another edition of Major League Minor. This week marks the second half of the season where every game counts. Players and teams are going to be vying for playoff position, and some teams are going to be vying for just getting in the playoffs to begin with. So this week we've got quite a bit to cover. We've got a great big announcement to get that out of the way here closer to the end of the show. So let's get started with the XFL. This week in the XFL, we're going to go ahead and recap a couple of weeks ago some of the scores, so let's dive right into that. Here are the recaps.
Week 6 XFL scores brought to you by Light 'em Up Video Productions. It was the Oklahoma Monarchs that slayed the Oklahoma City Jaguars by a score of 49-6. Then we saw the Kansas Cougars beat out the Wolfpack by a score of 29-0. The Oklahoma Executioners Oklahoma Nightmare game had to be rescheduled due to weather. The Oklahoma Chargers were shocked whenever the Oklahoma City Elite held on in a close one by a score of 14-6. Then it was the Yukon Bobcats that pulled away in a close victory against the Oklahoma Red Wolves by a score of 16-8.
So let's go ahead and get right into the rankings in the XFL.
This week's XFL Rankings brought to you by Thunder Bail Bonds. Thunder providing bail bond service to Oklahoma City and its surrounding areas. 24-hour bail bond service, call 405-235-002. At 5-1, the Oklahoma City Elite are at number 1 this week, followed by the number 2, 4-1 Oklahoma Monarchs. Coming in at number 3, the 3-1 Kansas Cougars. Following up at number 4, the Yukon Bobcats. At number 5, the Oklahoma City Jaguars, followed by the number 6 Oklahoma Red Wolves. And then rounding out the rest of the 10 are the Northern Oklahoma Executioners, the Oklahoma Nightmare, the Oklahoma Chargers, and the Wichita Wolfpack.
This week's matchups are going to be quite fun. You definitely want to see if you can get out there to some of the games. So here's this week's matchups.
This week's matchups in the XFL brought to you by Defender Sports. Defender, the official uniform maker of the Major League Minor show. This week's going to feature the Oklahoma Chargers facing off against the Kansas Cougars up in Wichita. The Chargers coming into this week winless as they're 0-3. Going to be facing up a very stout Kansas Cougar team with a very good defense. I give this one to the Cougars by a score of 35-14. The next game we're going to see features the Northern Oklahoma Executioners traveling to Prague to take on the Oklahoma Red Wolves. The Red Wolves a first year, but they are pretty impressive so far. The Executioners, however, seem to have things clicking. This is going to be a close game, and it can go either way, but I'm going to give this one to the Executioners by a score of 21-17. And now I'll bring up this week's Game of the Week. This week's Game of the Week is going to feature the Oklahoma Nightmare traveling up to Oklahoma City to face off against the Oklahoma City Jaguars. The Jaguars are a pretty stout team themselves this year, with the record of 2-1 going up against the 1-1 Oklahoma Nightmare. I think this one, again, is going to be a close game between these two, and it could go either way, but I'm going to give home field advantage, the slight advantage, to the Oklahoma City Jaguars by a score of 17-14.
We'll be right back, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Central Football League.
Light them up again, baby. Light them up, baby! Light them up!
It's been a couple of weeks since we've been back on the air, so let's go ahead and recap the Central Football Game of the Week 2 weeks ago against the Northwest Arkansas battle facing off against of course, the Joplin Crusaders.
This game was nothing in the first half, but late in the third quarter, Blake McDonald, quarterback keeper, calls his own number all the way in for the touchdown. First touchdown, first points of the day. Extra point attempt is good. Your score 7-0 battle. Eden with the ball. Driving. Hunt looking. Firing. Throws a pick right to Chris Scott. Picks up a couple of blocks. Finds his way all the way into the end zone. And all the way. He keeps going. I think he's going to Mexico. Going to Cabo San Lucas. Point after try is good. Your score 14-0 battle. Enid deep into battle territory, trying to get some points, get something going. Hunt hands the ball off. Oh, and it's stuffed right in the middle, going nowhere. That relentless battle defense was all over the enforcers, but Hunt options out, passes right to Alex Lofton. Easy touchdown for the enforcers. The point after try, no good. So your score, 14-6 battle. McDonald throws an errant pass to Al Hunt, playing corner. Comes up with a pick. Late in the fourth, still 14-6. They needed that one, but Hunt, driving, looking, trying to get out of the pocket, weaves in and out, throws a bomb, an air-to-missile service, but I'll tell you what, it gets picked off by J.J. Watson. Your final score, 14-6 battle.
That was a great game. It was probably one of the battle's probably best games, I think, in their entire organizational history. They deserved that win. They controlled the game through the whole game, actually. So there was no doubt who was going to come out on top in the fourth quarter. So let's go ahead and talk about the last week's scores, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago scores in the CFL.
Week 6 CFL scores brought to you by Light 'em Up Video Productions. For the very best in video productions, call Light 'em Up. It was the Tri-City Panthers that came away with the smoking gun against the Dallas Bulldogs by a score of 26-0. Then the Muskogee Bulldogs put it on a quacktastic fashion against the Arkansas Ducks by a score of 46-6. We saw the NWA Battle face off against the Joplin Crusaders, and probably one of the best matchups this year, but it was the Battle that came away with the first victory against the Crusaders by a score of 14-6. The Arkansas Steelers shut out the Arkansas Tornadoes by a score of 40-0. Then it was the West Central Warriors that got the forfeit win against the Arkansas Raptors by a score of 13-0. And then finally, the Arkansas Guardians came away with a close one against the Queen City Grizzlies by a score of 20-16.
And that'll bring us to this week's rankings.
This week's CFL Rankings brought to you by Lightning Bail Bonds. Get out of jail in a flash with Lightning. At number 1, your 5-0 Arkansas Battle, followed by the number 2 5-1 Tri-City Panthers. At number 3, the 4-1 Enid Enforcers. Sitting at number 4, the 4-1 Joplin Crusaders. And at number 5, the 3-2 Arkansas Guardians. Rounding out the top 10, your 2-2 Arkansas Extra, followed by the Dallas Bulldogs. The Amarillo Bandits coming in at number 8, followed by the Queen City Grizzlies. And rounding out the 10 is the Kansas City Saints. This week's DCFL rankings are at number 1, the 5-1 Muskogee Bulldogs, followed by the number 2 2-2 Arkansas Ducks. At number 3, the West Central Warriors. Coming in at number 4, the Green Country Phoenix, followed by the Arkansas Steelers, the Arkansas Tornadoes, the Arkansas Raptors, and at number 8, the 0-3 Southwest Gravediggers.
So let's talk about this week's matchups. We're going to have some great matchups this week, so let's get right into it.
This week's CFL matchups are brought to you by Defender Sports. Defender, the official uniform manufacturer for the Major League Minor Show. This week is going to feature a lot of close games. So the first one, let's dive into the Arkansas Extra taking on the Arkansas Guardians. This is going to be a pretty good game in my opinion, but I gotta say, it could go either way. but I think home field advantage in this one is going to play a part, so I'm going to give it to the Guardians by a score of 21-14. Next, the West Central Warriors are traveling down to Snyder to face off against the Southwest Gravediggers. The Gravediggers winless this year haven't figured out a way, a cohesive way to gel and to win a ball game yet. Meanwhile, the West Central Warriors seem to have some success this year, so I'm going to give it to them by a score of 14-7. Next, we're going to see the Green Country Phoenix play their third game of the season against the scrappy Arkansas Steelers. The Steelers coming off a very big win last week against the Arkansas Tornadoes, and I think they're going to keep the ball rolling as we're going to see a score of 21-10 Steelers. Next, we're going to see the Dallas Bulldogs travel all the way up to the Queen City Grizzlies up in Springfield, but I think the Bulldogs have got something going here this year. I think I'm going to give this one by a score of 21-7 Bulldogs. That'll bring up this week's Game of the Week. The DCFL Game of the Week is going to feature the Muskogee Bulldogs facing off against the Arkansas Tornadoes all the way in Mountain Home, Arkansas. This will be live streamed on Major League Minor, so if you go to the Major League Minor webpage and just go under live stream tabbing, you'll see the game live, no cost to you. And I think I'm going to give this one to the Bulldogs by a score of 24-7 Dog Pound. The next game of the week in the CFL is going to feature the Tri-City Panthers facing off against the Enid Enforcers in Enid. This is going to be a tight game also. It could go either way, but I got to have home field advantage for the Enid Enforcers. So I'm going to give it to them by a score of 21-17.
All right, so when we come right back, we've got a huge announcement to make. I'm definitely excited to announce this one. It's been something in the works for a long time. We'll be right back.
Whether it's 3 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, Thunder Bell Bonds is here for you. We understand that you are facing one of the most difficult situations you or your loved ones may have ever dealt with. We will do everything in our power to make sure you or your loved ones are released from jail as soon as possible. Thunder Bell Bonds is the highest reviewed bail bonds company in the Oklahoma City metro area. Give us a call today to find out why, or check out our additional videos and content. Call your always timely, professional, and courteous bail bondsman, Frank DeLoger, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Welcome back. So, as I said beforehand, we have a huge announcement. This is something that we've been really working on for the past several months. Matter of fact, it started last year during the Central Football League's championship game. An idea spearheaded that we could possibly have the CFL All-Stars versus the XFL All-Stars. Actually, it started with the championship game. It kind of morphed itself, and after going back and forth a few times with the different leagues and coming up with some criteria, we've been able to come to an accord. So, here's what's going to happen. June the 24th, I'm proud to announce we're going to have the first annual Weekend of Champions. This is going to be a great weekend because starting on Saturday, we are going to have a combine with all of the All-Star participants at 10 o'clock. We will post up with all the itinerary as far as what to expect if you're on the All-Star selection, and of course all the fun and everything that comes with that. At 2 o'clock, we're actually going to host the All-Stars versus All-Stars, CFL versus XFL. And then finally, at 7 o'clock, we're going to announce the XFL champion versus the CFL champion, and what's for sure going to be a great game. This is probably going to be the Mecca game that you want to see all year long. Speaking of Mecca, we're going to have this one at the Mecca Stadium, what I call the Mecca Stadium, Catoosa High School. This is right across the street from the Hard Rock Casino in Catoosa, and a great venue to host a game, a great venue to have everything going on there. It's going to be a blast. So, my advice to you, if you want to be a part of this, if you want to be a participant, if you want to be a fan, please come on out there. Bring your friends, bring your family. Don't bring your dog, leave your dog at home. But anyway, so bring everybody that you can. It's going to be a great time. We want to fill the stands. So get the word out there as fast as possible. June the 24th, Saturday, June the 24th, Catoosa High School. Make your hotel reservations early. You can book on through the Hard Rock Casino. I know that there's a few, I think there's a Hampton Inn. There's a few other hotels that are surrounding The encompassing hotels also, most of them I believe, have shuttle reservations too, to where you can be shuttled back and forth between the casino and also the high school. So get your stuff in early. That's our show this week. Make sure you go to www.majorleagueminor.com. That's our one-stop shop for just about everything you need to know. And until next week, I'm Chris Dotson reminding you to go watch some football.